Hello, folks. Hey, Mario. Howard, what's going on? Valerie, welcome. Kenneth, blessings. All our faithful supporters are here. Justin, what's going on? Good evening to you too, sir. You guys can. Frederick, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Howard, good to know you're good. You guys can do me a favor and share the link as usual. Um, let's if you know anybody who's starting a farm or just started but he's thinking about it, this is a good one for them. So if you can share with them or tell them, we're gonna go over how we started, the process we took. I'm gonna show you guys some different documents and stuff that I have when we started our research. Um, so and show you guys how far back we started doing our homework. Rain season, yeah, man. I remember last year, that big rainy season, November through February, was hard for us. So, Justin, I know struggle is real. Farmer boy, we don't have any animals for sale at the moment. Next month, maybe. I don't know if you're looking for purebred Nubians or graded, but send us a WhatsApp message and let's talk about it. Yeah, Justin, I think the best thing for you is just try to keep your animals' feet dry because hoof rot is the biggest issue there, and keep the feed going. Um, Justin, how long does the rain go for? How long it lasts? Like, as long as it's draining, that's a good thing. But that last rainy season we had, November through February, it rained like all day, like for 2 days straight. Howard, Howard, you got to start at some point, bro. You can't get, what is it? Should use this term analysis paralysis or something like that. Paralysis by analysis, something like that, where you just keep collecting data and keep going over it and don't actually start. Yeah, it's not a good thing. So yeah, if you guys can share in all the different groups, we'll greatly appreciate it. Um, and we'll get into this. When we get to like 20 people or something, we'll start. So if you want me to start, try to get like 20 people in here. No, I'm not playing that game. Like a couple more minutes and we'll start. Frederick starts with his 3 goats. Yeah, Frederick, you got to start. Mr. Henry, big up. Um, hope everything is good on your side. Um, yeah, you can't just keep analyzing. Analysis paralysis. That's the word. That's the term. You gotta jump in, man, and start utilizing all that data you're collecting. Gotta jump in. Start it somehow. Start with 5 goats. I understand. Yeah. Starting having somebody else start your thing is risky. Yeah, you need to be there. Well, that's just the ideal situation. But if you can't, you have to come up with a different system, right? But the longer you wait, the more expensive it's gonna get. I can tell you that. There you go. Mr. Henry have hit the nail on the head. The biggest risk in life is taking no risk. True, real talk. That's what's up. You know? All right, so here we are. Tonight I'm gonna get into basically how we started. Yes, Dr. Young says she started with 10 sheep. There you go. You just gotta start. Have to just jump in, feet first. Mr. Lee, big up. Tiana, long time I haven't seen you. Jeez. One of our best family, Cabra Ranch family member, Tiana. Big up, Tiana. Big up, bless up. We started with 7 goats, so you know what I mean. Good to see you, Tiana. All right, so yeah, so what I'm gonna get into tonight is I'm gonna get into the process, how we started. Everybody's process is unique, but if we share how we went about it, people can take stuff from it, what works for them, discard what doesn't work for them, and try to make their dreams a reality. You know, put their vision become a reality. So the first thing we started with is the idea of starting a goat farm. Everybody that follow us and know this is Trudy's idea, right? And then these days when things get tough on the farm, she's like, wonder whose idea it is, looking at me like it was me. No, this was Trudy's idea. If you guys watch some of the videos, even the last video that she did with Uniquely Me, she talked about she was making goat milk products, lotion, soap, and then she came visit Jamaica, see all these goats. Well, she always visit Jamaica every year, with Jamaicans. So, but then she keep talking about these goats she see walking up and down on the street, and she says she wanted to collect them and start and thing. And I was like, no, you can't do that. Then she talked to her brother. Her brother he's a data bank, talking about, how much meat Jamaica import and how much goat meat Jamaica import, all that stuff. So then it went from there to she seriously thinking about having a couple goats in Jamaica. And I'm like, okay, no, you can't do that. It make no sense. It make sense. Leave no goat with people in Jamaica. You'll never see them. They're gonna call you and tell you to go dead. I'm like, how about we just start a real goat farm? So that's where the research started. That very moment, research started. Started searching internet for. First thing I did was start searching YouTube and the internet for operations in Jamaica. How people are doing it. What's the scale they're doing it at? At the time, YouTube, I think I saw like 3 farms that had videos up. Unity Boer Goat Farm was one. Yeah, I think TJ Terrence Johnson. I saw that was Facebook. I saw a video with a lot of goats. There was a couple others I can't remember whose farm they were. But the truth is, they weren't doing what we envisioned. Once we start seriously thinking about it, The whole idea was to do a agritourism destination based on goats and do the goat milk products along with that. So that whatever we came up with had to be unique, had to be pleasant to be there, had to be a fun environment, and that was the plan. So we start searching and looking, searching, researching, trying to find something in Jamaica that resembled what we're doing. Couldn't find it. Find other farms that are doing stuff, but what we wanted to do wasn't there. So like, okay, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but we'll think the positive. Now, when we start thinking about layout and what we're gonna do, how it's gonna be, I tell you right off the bat, Trudy wanted a round goat house, a round circular goat house. And I'm like, well, that's not gonna work. She's like, why it's not gonna work? I'm like, well, you're gonna lose a lot of work usable real estate because once you start dividing up that space, you come up with a challenge. So then I start looking into, okay, let's see if there's any round animal livestock barn anywhere in the world. And I just keep searching and searching until um, I found one. No, I found one that really could work. So I'm gonna try to show this to you guys what this thing looked like. If I can find it in my massive folder here. I'm gonna show you guys what this thing looked like. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can see this. Give me a thumbs up if you guys are seeing it. I don't know if anybody is seeing this. I'm not getting no responses. Oh, thanks, Tiana. See, Tiana knows the drill. Interactive. Let's keep it moving. Okay, so this is what I found. I looked at it and we talked about it, and I think it's pretty close to being round. However, knowing after reading up on the round facility, I realized that it wouldn't be. No, there's no other view, Justin. It wouldn't be practical to what we want to do. So I come up with a compromise. I'm like, how about we do an octagon? So I start working on an octagon facility. And this is what I came up with. Let me show you guys what I came up with. So this is what I came up with. Let me know if this works for you guys. Can you guys see it? Yeah. So let me see if I can blow this up so you guys can see more of it. 1 second. I'm gonna try to make it bigger so everybody can see it and see the details of it. Yeah, that's as good as I can do it. So this is the drawing I came up with, which is an octagon. And I don't know if anybody in here at this moment ever visited the farm. This is the actual layout of Cabra Ranch Goat House. This is the actual layout, like no joke. The only difference is where you see these three small pens there. It's actually four that's there right now, but everything else is the same. The kids' playground now is not the what we call the North Lounge. It's on where the doze section is, and this whole back section where it says doze, exercise, and buck is just the maintenance lounge where all the females are. But inside the goat house, it's the same layout. The advantage, yeah, and the back platform here where it says those exercise or buck exercise is not there. It's on the other side. Or it used to be, and I took it out. So now it's just two platforms. That's there now. Um, this huge section, if you guys go back and watch an old video where it says those early 2018, 2019, this was wide open, just like it is now. And once we learn how the animals react, how they function, we had to split it up. This kidding pen here, kidding styles, whatever, we had to split this up too. A lot of different adjustment happened, but the basic layout is exactly what it is. And we did this in, think January 2018 is when I drew this up, because we're gonna build in the spring or summer of 2018. So when we start build, all the research and stuff started late 2016 through 2017. We were doing all kinds of research. Um, so we did that once we didn't decided on what the look of the goat house should be, what we're envisioning. Instead of going around the house, we did this. Um, if you guys have any questions about this, so the square footage of this is 1,500 and change, because each side is 18 feet. Each side is 18 feet. But I was thinking, okay, that's gonna be big enough to easily hold 200 goat, but no, that didn't happen, because after you start dividing it up, you start losing space. So the outside of the goat yard and them things start becoming living space for the goats, especially the maintenance lounge and the north lounge. There's another lounge to go in, by the way, on the other side. Um, yo, you're gonna have to talk to Trudy, Steve. Okay, so once we got that out of the way, what we did was we start looking for someone to build this. But in the interim, I started doing a whole lot of research, like throughout 2017, late 2016, 2017. There's just a lot of research. And when I mean a lot of research, I'm talking about in-depth stuff, not surface stuff. In-depth, like how are we gonna manage this, feed animals, all of that stuff. We start going in depth. So right now I'm talking about the idea, having the idea to start the farm and the research that goes into it, right? The idea came up, one, now we're doing the research on it, right? So number one thing for me was, how are we gonna feed these animals, right? How are we gonna feed them? What does it take to feed these animals? And what does it take to start a goat farm? I'm going to share something with you guys now. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say that it takes a lot of research and work to do these things. Let me see if I can share my screen so people can see what I'm talking about. Oof, that's crazy. So I'm assuming, tell me if you're seeing this. Are you guys seeing this? All right. So if you look over here where it says November 18, 2017, that's when I start searching on how to start a goat farm, planning my pasture, 2017. See the dates? Some of these, like these things, nutrition feeding, I couldn't, I had to screen grab or something because it wouldn't bring it down from Dropbox. So the dates changed. Date actually changed. But the research, I'm trying to show you guys how long we did research before we actually start anything, right? Look into the characteristics of the native goat from Jamaica. Anybody wants this document, I'll try to send it to you. This is the research they did on the Jamaican native goats. And I searched and found it and download it. 2018. Grazing calculation. How do I graze? How do I do it efficiently? Goat nutrition, feed, January 2018. Mind you, the farm didn't really start until 2019. I'm just trying to show you guys. I show you that because I want you guys to see the dates. You know what I mean? I wanted you guys to see these dates to know that the research started long before we start. The goat start building in summer 2018. Well, we tried to start it earlier and think it was started. We went down and it wasn't started, right? So the research was the second part of the whole thing. And then figuring out how we're going to do it, come up with all those plans. There is a YouTube page, Cardi YouTube page. It's CARDI. And I found that I was looking for videos on goat farming in Jamaica, and I found this YouTube page. And it had a whole bunch of videos. He had a whole bunch of videos from some training Cardi did. CARDISR project. You guys should look that up. I'm gonna see if I can share this thing. I don't know if I can. Anyways, I think it's gonna be a mess. But however, there is this YouTube page, CARDISR project, Cardi Small Ruminants Project. I guess that's what it means. But that YouTube channel has a whole lot of videos from that project with Dr. Young, Khalil, Mr. Farron, um, Maxine Brown, I think her name is, from RADA. I binged watched all those videos, binge watched all of them, every single one of them. I binge watched them. And after all that done, I was like, okay, now that I have an idea of what's going on in Jamaica, time to move forward. The first person I called was Khalil Brown because I wanted to know how to feed the animals. And he has the knowledge of how to feed the animals with what's available in Jamaica. That's the next step we did. Call Khalil. Now, when I spoke to Khalil was in Israel studying. He put me on to Dr. Young. He put me on to a bunch of people. So Trudy was making a trip to Jamaica. I couldn't do it. So it was like a trip to go see some of these farms, talk to some people. So gave her all these contacts, reach out to them in advance, set up appointments, and she went down and met with Dr. Young, register us with the Goat and Sheep Association or Sheep and Goat Association, all that stuff. Visit Bodles, visit the other one way down St. Elizabeth or something. Visit Dr. Young farm, visit some other farms, just to get a feel of how things work in Jamaica. All part of the research process. All part of the research process, right? Then once we gather all that information, then we say, okay, let's start. We decide that we're going to start looking animals to purchase. So try to time it where once the house is built, we go down, pick up the animals, put them in the house. Plans don't usually work as they're supposed to, right? So we think the house is being built. We go down, house is not being built. Just like really slow process. But we still had to pick up the animals. Pick up the animals from Terrence Johnson. Good deal. Thanks, Terrence, again for that. And we took them to the farm, put them in that building that we currently live in on the farm. They put them in there because burglar bars and stuff was on it. So we put them in there, and that's where we started while the house was being built. Now, so we go through the research phase. Gather all your information. Howard, now that you gather all your information, now we have to actually start. So growth house start being built, have to look for somebody that can manage this. Big problem is everybody think them can take care of goats. But not everybody can do it the way you want to do it. Right? So you have to find somebody that sees your vision, that understands your vision, that can execute. And you always got to be prepared to change direction. because sometimes what you envision is not exactly what happens. Especially in Jamaica environment, you have to keep adjusting as you go along. So the actual start for us was slow because what we wanted to was be up and running with, maybe a dozen goats or something. We only had seven that wasn't in the goat house. Goat house wasn't finished. We spent almost a month on there trying to get it done. We had to leave before it was done. Take us much longer to actually get it finished. So the actual start of Cabra Ranch was um December, no, January 2019. January 2019 was a real actual start. And I'll explain why it was a real actual start. Because we had this 7 goats, but the goat house wasn't ready. There was no system in place. There was no proper infrastructure, security, all that stuff. Mind you, I had everything ready to do all that. So, but I had to wait until the house was built. So once you went back down, I think just before Christmas or something, we the house is done by then, and I start putting everything in place, fencing, all that security and all that stuff, and start implementing our system. Now, the reason why I said the farm really started on January 2019 was because we had an opportunity to buy a whole bunch of goats from one farm all at once. 30 something goats, 20 something females, and a bunch of kids, turn up to 34 goats. And now our system that I was putting in place for 7 goats, now we had the opportunity to try this on a nice group of animals. So that's why I said it actually started January 2019. Now, let's get to the system phase. Once you start, you got to have a system of how the farm's going to run, production system, everything, right? And to show you that we don't play when it comes to these things. Seriously, everything has to be well thought out how it's going to work. How is it really going to work? And I'll show you guys that I sat down and sketched this out. I'll show you guys my little drawings. Let me try to get this as big as I can so everybody can see it, because it's that important. All right. So if you guys see, this is my sketch of our pastures and grazing, a system. I think it should be self-explanatory, actually. Anybody's familiar with the farm. On the left here is the road, main road, driveway, and all you see the pasture is blocked out. It's 100 feet wide. I don't really measure the length because it doesn't really matter, because I split it up in paddocks. But this is, I sat down and sketched this out and figure out how it's gonna work. If you can see these little dotted lines, I guess I was explaining how it's gonna work. These dotted lines that cut up the pasture. And that's an example of actually thinking through how everything is going to work on the farm, including the grazing system, right? And in I did that in 2018 before the real actual start of the farm. I did that in 2018. So everything has to be thought out about your system. How is it going to work? My rotational grazing, I strongly believed in it. I strongly endorse it. I think everybody, if you have this space, you should do it because it saves you on input, the cost of buying feed and all that stuff. Rotational grazing helps you healthier animals, healthier pastures, everything. But if you don't, I always talk about another system that you can use, a fully intensive system. You just got to be smart about it. Now, that's the feeding them. Like, as I showed you guys, the whole feeding thing, that the nutrition charts, nutrition stuff that I research and download. So with the guidance of Khalil, I was able to come up with what's needed in Jamaica. What do I need in Jamaica to feed these animals? What kind of grass I have available to me? I shared with you guys the thing last week. And when I was doing the pasture, I researched hard and found this document. I'm going to share it with you guys. I don't leave anything to chance, and you shouldn't. Okay? You shouldn't leave anything to chance either. See this chart? I found this on the internet. It's from a university that studies small ruminants. They created Colorado State University. And what it is it's a grazing, right? And it tells you the stocking density, how many animals you can have per acre, or you can just change it as you feel fit to calculate. It could be 2 acres, 5 acre, whatever. And you have to do a partial evaluation to figure out how much dry matter per acre you have, right? We did that. So it's about 2,000 pounds. How much of that they're eating? At a time, 75% we have. So this is how it works. Like 1 day for goat, 1 acre for 1 day can take 388 goats. When you go and scroll down, it tells you 365 days, 1 goat, 1 acre. If you have 1 acre, you can have 1 goat all year round. You can use that. And it gives you for all the different animals. Everybody see that? Give me a thumbs up if you see that. Hello? Anybody there? Give me a thumbs up if you guys saw that, if you guys are seeing this document. Good. All right. So I was meticulous in setting up the grazing because it's a really important part of our operation, really important part of our system. As you know, all the goats that are in maintenance mode, they do not get grain. So the grazing has to be on point. So that's where this data comes in. This is what helped me make decisions and how many goats can be in a particular pasture, a particular space. You know what I mean? Based on the dry matter per acre. You know what I mean? So, no, Frederick, you can decide what your rotation is, just not make sure it's not less than 21 days. Ideally, 6 weeks will be ideal. But this is just to let me know how many animals I can put in a particular space, how big the space is, how many animals I can put in it based on how much dry matter is in it. You know what I mean? Because we use predominantly guinea grass, so we have a lot and it grows high. So the dry matter per acre is it's a high volume, 2,000 pounds. When it's fully grown, when it's at 6 week growth, it's, you know, 2,000 pounds of dry matter for the 1 acre. So I can do a lot with that. And it gives me flexibility on how I use it because I don't have 380 goats. But so it gives me a lot of time to go through it and I can manage it accordingly. I can make adjustments, smaller paddocks, based on how much dry matter is in there. And I'm hoping everybody understand what the dry matter is how much grass, basically, digestible grass that's in there. So I'm just trying to give you guys an example of how the research that I did, how I take that information and apply it to the system that was working for us, right? I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how I apply all that research. Howard, specifically to you, Howard, like all that research you did, all that data you're collecting, how do you apply it? And I'm trying to give you guys an example of how we apply the information we collected. You know what I mean? It's important to know you can't just collect information and you don't do anything with it. No, you have to utilize it to the best of your ability and how it relates to what you're doing. So the grazing was one system, the grazing system. So then the production system that we wanted to implement was, it's a semi-intensive system. So maintenance goats go out and graze. Goats that are in production, meaning if they're about to have kids on them, or the bucks don't go out because the danger that applies with the pre-larceny and all them things, and goats that are about to go to market, weaners. We call those animals, they're in the production system, So if you get weaned and you're going to go to market, whether you're being sold or getting ready to go integrate into the general herd, you're in that production system. If you're a month out from having kids, you're in the production phase. You got kids on you, production phase, basically, right? So all those animals get extra in their nutrition, which is grain. We give them grain. Now that we started the milk thing, now the goats are milking get a different. They get the dairy ration versus the other ration for the other production animals, but it all comes down to what your production system is. So that's our production system. Now we transitioned once we expanded, created the lounge, and we expanded and make the goat house itself a production house. If you're not in the production system, you're not in the goat house. You're in one of the in the back lounge, maintenance mothers in the maintenance lounge, because we're trying to increase the number of animals that we can breed at one time. Right? So just think about your system. And when you're thinking about your system, think about how you can scale it. Even when you're building your goat house, think about how you can scale it. Because as I showed you guys what the the sketch I did, the outline I did of the goat house, I tell people that the expansion of the lounge and them things, I already had that vision in my head, how we're gonna scale it. I already had that vision in my head of how I'm gonna scale this when once the time comes for it to scale up. It was built for that possibility, and even where the ramp is, one of those ramps that I took away, the reason that ramp was there is because there's supposed to be a crosswalk that would go to another house like this. Once we get there, that would be a dairy goat house. Like, there's a whole vision of scaling behind it, right? And so when you're building and putting in your systems and stuff in place, think about how you scale it. Colin, pregnant goats only get grains in the 4th month. Yes, pregnant goats start getting grain a month out from kidding. And because we have a pretty tight estimate of when they get pregnant, sometimes it goes 6 weeks or whatever it is, but it's pretty close. So everybody gets pulled a month out. Everybody that's gonna have kid a month out, and they start getting grain. Correct. So basically, you have to plan with scaling in mind, right? And your system has to be scaled, have to have the ability to scale up. You can't create a system that you can't scale it. You should be able to scale. You should be able to scale it with minimum disturbance. I mean, the system we put in place, we should be able to use that system with minor changes all the way up to 200-300 animals. You know what I mean? The only thing we need to add to it is equipment or maybe manpower, because the system works for us. Now, once you put your system in place, you're happy with the system, do not be scared to change things. Do not get up in your feelings. Do not worry about how the worker is going to feel about changing something. If it is not working, change it. Or if you think you can improve it, change it. If it's something you change it to is worse than what it was before, change it back. Go back to what you were doing. Do not get worried about a man getting his feeling. Oh, we did that yesterday, and no, we're going back to it, and we're doing it last week. You change it. No, you're going back to what we did last week. I don't care. Last week, one was better. Let's go back to it. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to try new things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the whole idea is to keep improving on what you're doing. Try to get animals looking better. Try to get healthier animals. Try to lower your mortality rate. Try to improve on your kidding weight. Try to improve on your weaning weight. Everything. Whatever you need to do to make the system, make your production better. Now, the management of all of those systems has to be in sync with what you're doing. Record keeping. That is the number one thing. Record keeping. Document as much as you can what's happening. Documenting everything. Like, it's intense what we do with record keeping for some people, because you can't manage what you don't know. You can't manage what you don't know. So you have to keep record. And it's easy when you got 25 goats. When you got 35 goats, 40 goats, it gets more challenging. The numbers go up. You know what I mean? It gets way more challenging. You can't remember everything. So for us, we document as much as we can. You know what I mean? We even leave sticky notes on goat pens, like kidding season. We'll be leaving sticky notes. Remember to come check this kid to make sure the navel is healing, or this kid's gonna need some extra milk because it's a triplet and one is weaker. Sticky notes stick on the side of the pen, like everything, to remind you to be as efficient as possible with your management. Anything it takes, little things. It's all part of record keeping. You know, record keeping saves you a lot of headache. You know, like as I said, goats get pulled 1 month before they give birth. Record keeping, we know. Group breeding, we know the time period, and 90% of the time we're dead on. You know, so as I said, if you guys know anybody who's starting and just started and need to get some information, share this with them, please, because the key is information. Knowledge is power. Nobody told me how to do this. I just use experience from my other world to apply it to this, because I know that knowing stuff is half the battle. You know, knowing, having an idea of how it's supposed to work is half the battle. A lot of things is not a surprise. I mean, I know how to fix it and how to deal with it, but a lot of it is not a surprise to me. I can identify it. And I have enough information to go look it up, to come right here on my laptop and say, okay, I knew I have some information on this. Let me go find it. Or find yourself a mentor. That's the next part I'm getting into. Transition right into find yourself a mentor. Find somebody who's doing it at the level that you would like to do it. Somebody who has the knowledge of this, that you trust, that you see that they know what they're talking about. You see the results in their animals. Find that person and have that person talk to you, hang out with them, go to their farm, hang out. That's what I did. That's what we did. You know, Khalil is a nutrition man. I believe in what he's saying. I binge watch all his videos, so I know what he's talking about. He seems knowledgeable. So he's the guy when it comes to nutrition. Doesn't mean I agree with everything he says, because sometimes, you know, based on the research I do, I'm like, yo, these people who have more credentials than you don't say that. But then he'll remind me that, yo, that's North America, man. This is Jamaica. You know what I mean? So sometimes what you learn, the literature, the theory, in theory, it's good, but practical part of it is like, oh, I have to change how it applies. You know what I mean? Like all that research we done on pastures and all that stuff, the nutritional stuff part of it doesn't apply to Jamaica. I had to do that whole evaluation of the pasture to know, to apply what I learned about dealing with the pasture, because what I learned was what's happening in North America, what's happening in the US, what's happening in Africa, what's happening in Canada. You know, once I dig and to find the stuff on Jamaica, which we talked about last week with Khalil, then I realized it's a different application of feeding the animals and what I used to feed the animals. What stay constant is the concept of how you feed them, like how frequent, what they require. You know what I mean? The requirements that stays constant. It's not gonna change because the goat them is in Jamaica. You know what I mean? That is not gonna change. See if I can find a document that I have that outlines some of these things. What the requirements are for feeding the animals. Hmm. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me see. Yeah, I think I found it. Um, I'm going to show you guys another important document that I found and go over with a fine tooth comb and discuss it with Khalil. So, if you guys can see this, this is a chart of what's required, how the goats should eat, how much dry matter they should eat, based on and how it relates to their body weight. So basically, it's saying the first thing is body weight, dry matter per pound per head, the percentage of body weight, total protein, like crude protein level, TDN, and Khalil explained that last week, total digestible nutrients, calcium, phosphorus. All right. So maintenance, right? These are for maintenance animals. You know that if they're pregnant or whatever, you got to increase it. But for maintenance mothers, maintenance animals in general, if they're 22 pound, they should consume 0.63 pounds of dry matter, which is 2.8 of their body weight. And the crude protein content should be minimum 7.9 of what they're eating, the crude protein. So as it goes up as the heavier they get. You know what I mean? So let's say it's a big buck or a big mother, minimum, call it 4 pounds they should eat. And see the dry matter, the crude protein content, etc. You know what I mean? So research and how you apply it matters. How you apply it. Do your research. And once you do the research, grasp the concept of how it works. Don't do exactly what it says, because most of these research are done in areas that the forage is different, the climate is different. But based on how the animal work, the science behind the animal, the concept is still the same. So you just got to find what works in Jamaica or wherever you are in the world. You know what I mean? Wherever you are in the world, find what works. And that's what I did. I'm like, okay, these are the requirements. This is how the animal system work. No, Khalil, tell me, where do I find the proper thing? Come do an assessment on my pasture. Let me know if my pasture is good enough to feed these animals in maintenance mode. Yes, it is. And goats are browsers. All this stuff about when they talk about have pasture with just grass. No, I don't believe in that. I got many stuff in there as possible. You know what I mean? Though, wherever you're gonna graze your goat, leave it as it is in its natural state, and just watch them, see how much of it they eat, what they eat. Try not to disturb it until you do a real good observation of what they're eating, how much of it they eat. If you see them eating 80% of it, leave it at it as it is. Diversity is the key. You don't want a pasture with just Pongola grass, African star, Guinea grass, king grass, whatever it is. No, as diverse as you can get is the closer you are to perfection. Miguel, the rule of thumb for pregnant mothers is if you can confirm that the pregnant mother has 2 kids in her, you can start increasing her grain to up to 2 pounds. If you can confirm it, I mean you have to do a proper ultrasound. If you can't confirm it, stick with a pound. And once she has kids and you realize, oh, it's 2 or 3 kids, you can increase the grain. The reason behind this, and a lot of people don't say this, the reason behind the adding of concentrate, which is grain, when the goat have kids in her, there's less space for feed, for grass, for feed, period. Right? So you got to either have them eat really amazing grass, like when the grass is at its maximum nutritional value, have them eat that for them to get what they need, or just supplement it with concentrate. Because it's only the bigger the kids get in them, less space in there for feed. So they can't eat this whole of feed that they would eat if they weren't pregnant. So the whole idea is to supplement them with grain or really high value forage. Like we don't have alfalfa in Jamaica that I know of, but yeah. So that's the answer to that, Miguel. Yeah. So managing your system is where we're at. Um, yeah, you observation, pay close attention to what is happening. Now, we talk about the pasture, the grazing thing. If you're not grazing and you're doing a fully intensive system, then make sure what you're feeding is of good quality. Because remember now, they're in captivity. They cannot decide. They're completely dependent on you to give them what they need. So make sure what you're giving them is good quality. If you want the returns, you got to give them good quality grass or good quality hay. And if you're giving them grain, then you know what I mean, it's a supplement. So pay close attention. You should know. I say this to our guys. They should have a standard in their head of what their goals should look like, what each animal should look like. They should be able to tell if a goat is dropping off. You know, don't wait to deal with the diarrhea. Don't wait to deal with anything. Address it right away. You may be very busy at something you spotted, but do something. Now, Natty from Chelsea Best Farm is saying, what supplements can you use to help the goats? I'm of the rule of thumb that I only use supplements when needed. Right? I try to get the animals to perform on their own by giving them proper feed choices. Like the grazing animals, give them enough space for them to eat till them full up. The goats that are in production cycle, give them the proper grass, good nutritious grass, and supplement them with grain because they need it, because they're in production. They need everything to feed the kids or to give us milk or whatever it is. Or if they're in the last stage of gestation, they, once they're in the last stage of gestation, everything is going to the development of those kids. You know what I mean? I'll say it again. Goats, females are more susceptible to worm overload the last month of kidding because all the energy is going to the kids. And that's when worm like, oh, you're weak. Let's go. Let's take it over. So mothers are more susceptible to worm overload the last month of pregnancy, of gestation. Supplements, vitamins, you know what I mean? Like kid mothers are coming to have kid. We try to give them supplements that will increase their energy, like hemoplex and stuff, because they're carrying a lot, and we want their energy up. We want them to be up eating all the time. We want them to be strong enough that when they can, withstand the stress of giving birth. So we try to, if we see a goat look lethargic or whatever, it's more like hemoplex or some form of vitamin to give them, to let them eat more, like, B complex. If you see that they look lethargic and coming off eating, if they're not eating as much as they should. But for most generally, it's just what we feed our goats straight up. Let me start with production goats. 90% of the time, all they get is water, fresh grass, and grain. Goats that are maintenance, that are going to pasture, water, grass, and of course, there's free choice minerals. Animals only get attended to or given supplements if something's wrong with them. Here's a question. Um, Rashane, so here's the thing with deworming goats when they're pregnant. If if you discover that if the goat is, this is from our experience, I'll make this big disclaimer. I am no great authority on goat, um, authority on what happens at Cabra Ranch. Straight up. There's way more experienced people, way more knowledgeable people that I'll tell you to consult in the event that something is really bad happening on your farm. Dr. Young, there's a whole bunch of people. But what I'm gonna tell you, Roshane, is what we do at Cabra Ranch. If we realize the goat's in the last month of gestation and we realize the worm load is getting too much, there is safeguard dewormer. I think fenbendazole is safe at that stage. But what we try to do is increase on supplements like vitamins or hemoplex or something, and try to get that goat to delivery before we deworm. If it's not possible, then we use one of the safe dewormers. But we try to stay away from deworming during pregnancy as much as possible because it could trigger an abortion. All right. So, but be you should stick to the side of saving the mother. So if you think, oh, she's not gonna make it to delivery, then I would suggest you deworm and take the chance of losing the kids because it's better to save the mother. Right? Always think about saving the mother. Yeah. Um, so now if you get the management thing down, right? Your system is running like a well-oiled machine, which sometimes is not really possible. I don't think, as much as we talk about carburant system, sometimes I feel it's not running to its optimum potential, but it's doing very good. Give props to the team and everything. I'm telling you, everything I'm sharing with you guys is what we do, and you should take what works for you from take from it what works for you, and what can't work for you, you discard it, or just keep it filed away somewhere to say, yo, maybe someday I can utilize this. Now, managing the whole system, as I said, comes down to record keeping, proper record keeping, communicating to people, to your workers, or if you're doing it yourself, communicate to your your support people, like your vet, your feed people. Communicate to them what your objectives are. What your objectives are. Do not let anybody impose their objective on your system, because they're not the one that has to manage it and deal with it. Okay, so set up your system so you can maximize and be efficient to see success. Don't follow somebody else's way of doing it and then fail. Do it how you think works best for you. You know what I mean? If you pay attention to the way Cabra Ranch is set up, it's set up so we can have success and we can feel comfortable there. We can be happy there. We can, put on our church clothes and go feed the animals and leave and go church or whatever, because it's set up that we can do that without have to get messy. So think about that when you're setting up. So let me recap a bit. You get the idea, figure out, okay, this is a good idea, we should do it. Sure. Start doing your research. Figure out how you're going to fund it. That's the part we didn't talk about, but everybody have their own way of funding. I don't get into that. But figure out how you're going to fund it. Once you get enough information, decide on a date to start and start. Start building or start buying animals. I suggest you start building first. Like you put a whole plan together. Okay, I'm gonna start building. I'm gonna buy some animals. When the building is complete, I can stock it, whatever. The things I think I went over last week, things you should have in your head and things you should have in place when you start the farm, like security and all them things. I'm not gonna regurgitate all that tonight. I'm just gonna go through the different phases of starting the farm. So once you're gonna start, the actual start, you should have these things in place: security, how you're gonna protect the animals, all of that. Start building the facility. Make sure the facility is complete to your liking, because shortcut brings blood. So if you take a shortcut, you may start putting animals in there before it gets to the stage where you're happy with it. You may lose animals, or somebody may get injured, or they may just come teeth the animals, whatever. You know what I mean? We've made the mistake. We've had the errors, or we had to pick up goats, and the goat farm and the goat house wasn't ready. But we were fortunate to have somewhere that had burglar bars that we can lock those goats in. We were fortunate like that. Not everybody is like that. So I'm imploring people, don't spend your money buying animals and you can't protect them. Don't spend your money buying animals and you don't have a facility for it to function, for your system to function. You know what I mean? Rashane, what about right medication to keep on your farm? That's a whole lot of show, bro. I can give you like types of medication off the top of my head, but I think we've done a show on that already, or a video. Dewormers, um, antibiotics, vitamins, wound dressings, like fresh wound dressing, like Ectoline spray, or the purple spray, or screwworm, that type of stuff. You know, basically, you should do a medicine cabinet. You should have a list of things that you need to have on the farm as part of your planning, part of your research. You know what I mean? I did a whole folder on here called medicine cabinet. And I try to go through and get the necessary things I need. So you got to make that a part of your research. Yeah, so let me continue. So when you actually start, you should have all these things on paper, all these things in place to make sure that when you're ready to put animals in there, all the T's are crossed, all the dots, all the I's are dotted, whatever they say, yeah. And then start implementing your system. Like if you're anal like me and Trudy, we write down everything. We write down how the system's gonna work, how we're gonna breed, what are we targeting. Don't make the mistake we made and just buy animals and stray away from our original goal. You know what I mean? Things happen. We had the opportunity to buy at the farm, but really and truly, we get into this for milk. And the first year of operation, we weren't milking no goats. You know what I mean? Because we didn't think we have milk animals. So we weren't milking. But as you go along, you learn. You know what I mean? My good friend Mackie just said, "Yo, what you waiting on? Milk what you got." And we're like, "Okay, we're just gonna milk what we have." And as you say, he's one of my mentors. Man said, "Milk what you got." So as we start milking, and look at us. We're milking and getting the experience of how milking works. And so when we start building out on the milking program, we know how it works and we know what we need to do. And then start with 10 really amazing dairy goats that's giving us a whole lot of milk that we can't use. Now we know what we need to do. We know how the process works. So you just got to start. As you say, just start. You in it for milk and you got 10 goats, start milking them. And figure out how that works, the proper way of doing it. Create a system for that can scale. So putting your system in place. Pardon me. Start managing that system, record keeping, communication. Let people know what your objectives are. Clearly articulate what your objectives are. Not just people who are working for you. If you're doing it by yourself, make sure your vets, feed suppliers, all these people know what your objectives are. So when they're on your farm and they have to give you suggestions or advice, it's in the best interest of your goals and not what they think should happen. So clearly explain to people what your objective is. Don't have people say, "Oh, I know I'm gonna sell 2 goats," and if those goats don't meet your objective, why buy them? You know what I mean? Why buy goats that, if you're into milk and want to increase your milk yield, why buy goats that don't give you milk? Don't care how pretty that goat looks. What's the milk potential? What's the milk yield potential? You know what I mean? If you're in it for meat, why buy Nubians? It's a meat to bone ratio on Nubians. You're not going to improve. Just my opinion. You know what I mean? Stick to your goals. And trust me, I'm telling you this because we've done it. We've been through that, made those errors. You know what I mean? I don't want you to go through the same thing. So I'm telling you what errors we had. If we had stuck and say, "Oh, stick to the original plan," and say we're just gonna really try and find goats that are giving good milk yields and add them to the herd, maybe we would have been further ahead in our milk program. But everything happens for a reason. But it doesn't mean you have to go make the same mistakes. Yeah, constantly talk, communicate to your workers what the objectives are. Trudy has a thing she says, repeat it 24 times before people get it. You know, that's her thing. Just say it over and over 24 times before they actually register with them. So, and don't be scared to change. Not because, oh, I've been teaching them this for a month. No, I want to change it. Don't be scared to change. You know what I mean? Nothing gets better if it doesn't change. Can get better if it stays the same. It's just facts. You know what I mean? Those are just straight facts. Um, any questions? Because I think that's all I got on my paper here. I think everything else is further down the road. Starting, I think is covered. I think I've covered how we get from zero to where we are now. So, Roshane, you're looking at the meat market to have mixed boar and Nubian stud. You think it's good to okay? If you're going in for meat, you should only have one objective: how fast those kids can grow so you can put them on the market, and what's the meat to bone ratio, the quality of the product you're selling. Do you have enough meat to bone ratio? Right. So in Jamaica, there's a thing where they say the good mix is to add Nubian to it to get the milk yield, the milk, so the mother can have enough milk to feed the kids so the kids grow faster. But you got to find that happy medium that the kids are more Boer than they are Nubian. You know what I'm saying? So you can have that good meat to bone ratio if you want a good product. If you want a good meat product that people are going to be happy with knowing that, yo, this meat good. And then you want to ensure that you're processing that goat at an early age, a good age, that it's not old and tough and hard to cook. You know what I mean? But hybrid, to me, nobody wants to butcher full blood boars for meat, but they're the ideal meat animal. We've done it. But hybrid is good. Graded boar, it's good. If you can come up with your own little meat line, there are people trying it. People trying to come up with the ideal cross, the ideal hybrid, enough milk production with the right meat to bone ratio for a perfect meat animal. Um, because boars don't produce a lot of milk. We all know that. So yeah, if that's where you want to go, that's what you need to take into consideration. Any other questions, folks? Don't think I'm missing anything. Think I have shared all I had to share. Anybody wants this native goat report characteristics? They can email me. Email me. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys what it looks like. And go through it here. So this is what it looks like. It's a whole document telling us where it says approximately 97% of the population, goat population of Jamaica is native. And it tells you how the native goats came about. Tells you how they did the research, different parishes that they went to, people they spoke to, and the result of that discussion there. This is the important part right there. And I think at the end, remember correctly, if this is the one, it tells you what people been doing and what they think needs to be done to improve on the native goats. Now, these are the people that were involved. Conclusion. Yeah. So yeah, if you need this document, just email me and I'll send it to you. Yes, we've done silage over the years. We've always have silage on hand. I think I may have like 20 something bags sitting there. I'm planning to make more. I always got silage on hand. I don't know if I can ramp up the production to sell. I think I'll need proper equipment for that, like what Damian Crawford has. But yeah. Leon, no, I don't have any Boer box. Check Unity Boer Goat Farm if you want, or Dr. Graham or one of those guys for full blood Boer box. Max, you can start with Alpines for the milk component mix. Yeah, you can Alpine, Shannon, Nubian, Toggenburg. Yeah, all those milk lines. The bags for silage. Yeah, there's a company in Kingston that can make the bags for you. Yeah, we've done it. Khalil was the one who gave me the contact. I'll touch base with him on that. But yeah, these big white bags are black. I have a 9 to 5 job. My 14-year-old son helped me on the farm. How to know when the goats take buck? Are you asking how to know when they're in heat or how to know if they are pregnant? If you want to know if they're in heat, the fanning of the tail and their attraction to the buck is a good idea. If you suspect that they're in heat, just bring the buck over and see what their reaction. If they're in standing heat, they'll stand there and take the buck because you have flashing tails, or if they got other goats with them, they'll be trying to mount another goat or something. If you think that they're pregnant and you want to confirm that, my only way of confirming that is getting a pregnancy test done by a vet. That's the way we do it. We don't really guess and spell. You know what I mean? Like Cruz, as you guys saw the video I post, Cruz will act like he knows, but we always try to confirm with the vet. Yeah. or or ask Cruz. Cruz knows. Yeah. Yeah, but we try to confirm with the vet because we want to know how far along they are. Um, Chelsea, if you're asking how long a bag, like once we open a bag, we use that bag for the day. Yeah, once we open the bag, it's getting used, and we can reuse the bag. Yeah, we reuse the bag. We actually put cut grass in the bag to transport to the goat house. When we shaft the grass up, we reuse those silage bags as a way to carry the shaft grass to the goat house. They're very durable. All right. Any other question, folks? Because I may call it a night. And thank you guys for hanging out with us again. And I appreciate it. As I said earlier at the top, if you know somebody who is looking at a roadmap of starting their own farm, their own goat operation, share this with them. I think there's a lot of helpful information, and they can also, send us message at Cabra Ranch to. We'll try to help them, give them pointers. You know what I mean? This is information that I didn't have when I started. And I promise myself I will continuously share as much as I learn and experience so the people following me have success and greater success than what we've experienced starting out. So um, there it is. Have an idea, do the research on it, actually start it, execute your system, apply the information you learn from your research, and manage it properly. Record keeping, number one way to succeed managing your farm, record keeping. All right. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys next week. Bless up, everybody. Big up. Howard, Valerie, Mr. Henry, Max, my mom, go on to your bed. Um, everybody else, big up. Miguel, Natty, everybody that's here. Trying to scroll through. Leon, Siobhan, everybody that's rushing. Big respect and thank you guys for coming through. And we'll see you guys next week. All right. One love. Peace.